Deep Shot Podcast, Season 4, Episode 46. Craig Kimbrell. Was he 46? Did I make that up?
I think you're right on that. I think that's correct.
Does it sound wrong? I don't know if I have any other 46s.
All right. Well, it's a Craig Kimbrell episode.
Yeah.
Welcome to another episode of the Deep Shot Podcast. Packed show tonight. Coming to you on Sunday night. We got the Rams-Bears game going on right now. We're going to recap the whole divisional round, but we're going to wait until we get to the end of that game to be able to talk about that one. So we're going to talk about Kevin Stefanski, now new head coach for the Atlanta Falcons. We're obviously going to talk about that. We're going to talk about national championship. It's going to be on Monday nights. Packed show. We've got our deep thoughts as well. And thanks for tuning in. As always, just want to make sure I remind you, follow on Instagram, follow on TikTok, subscribe to the YouTube. The YouTube is so much fun to make, just so everybody knows from me. I love making the thumbnails. I love clipping it up. You know, gets us more views if you think about it, because a lot of times we get these short clips that we put up there of just certain segments. A lot of people watch those if you don't want to have to listen to the whole thing, or you want to see our faces, which that's always a good time too. Again, thank you. I know a lot of people follow on Instagram and TikTok. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube as well. Also, you know, in terms of the content we put out there, we saw Caleb this weekend on a reaction video, okay? And to all of Jake's buddies out there, I just want you to know, I wanted to say two things to all of the Jake Johnson stands out there. First of all, I'm very grateful for every single one of you, all right, for tuning into the podcast, being, you know, getting in the comments, even when you're mean. I appreciate you. I do. Second thing I want to tell you is, if you want to see more Jake, you got to tell Jake. Trust me, I want to see more Jake on the Instagram too.
What are you referring
I want to
to?
see more Jake on the Instagram too. You guys got to bully him. All right. We want to see Jake on the Instagram too. So just wanted to say those two things. There was a comment that said Jake carries the pod. So, you know, we got to make sure we get him on social media, on the Instagram as well. Tell Jake you want to see him every day. We'll get him on there every single day.
We're a ball podcast, man. We got to give our bell cow the football, man. Give the player the carries.
Well, I did not see Jason's comment. I'm looking at it now, but I do love the reply. # lives 5 hours away. I think that's good.
Oh, man. But again, thank you all for listening, for following. Make sure you're tuned in. If you're not already, make sure you tell your friends. And also, reminder, Deep Shot Award Show, it's going to be a good one. Going to be fun. We're going to be suited up. It's going to be a good time. We've got like 20 awards to give out. Some of you guys might give out an award or get an award. February 2nd, you'll hear it everywhere on podcasts and on YouTube. Okay.
Yeah, I'll say this real quick, just in reference to the award show. Mallory King was hitting me up the other day, like, "Hey, I better get some love for the biggest fan." So I don't know if that's a little bit of tampering going on or a little something.
Well, you know she's going to hear this.
I know she's going to hear this. What up, Mallory? How you doing?
Yeah. Well, Mallory could win an award. If you want to be like Mallory and have a chance to win an award, let us know. All right. We are giving out Best Listener Award. All right. We've got to talk about it before we get into all the NFL and national championship talk. The Atlanta Falcons have their new head ball coach. Jake, I need you to take off the Jags hat for a little bit and get into Falcons mode. All right. The Atlanta.
You know what? I will stop. Yeah, I do. You're right. Let me choose video filter, virtual backgrounds, and we are back.
There we go.
Back.
It's not upside down anymore. It's just new era. This is like a press conference background. Got it.
Not the upside down. Because I will say the Jags thing, listen, I do like the Jags, but as y'all know, I like the Jags. I love the Falcons. You know, like the Jags, love the Falcons.
Well, we're back on Falcons. Jake is back. All right. The Falcons have hired Kevin Stefanski, two-time coach of the year with the Cleveland Browns. Overall record is 45-56. Used to dysfunctional franchise. That's what I wrote down for a little bit. Like, yes, he was 45-56, which, you know, a lot of people are like, well, you know, like hiring Raheem, who was, you know, had a bad record as a head coach. You know, I'm going to let you guys talk about that a little bit more than me, but he was an offensive mastermind with the Vikings. He was part of the Vikings for a long time and has been the head coach for like the worst NFL organization the last 6 years. Won the coach of the year twice, been to the playoffs, got a playoff win. You know, the Browns offense was a little rough, you could say, the last couple years, but I mean, there's a lot of quarterbacks coming in and out, and he was really the hottest name on the market, right? Like you would say, like other than, you know, John Harbaugh, who also got hired to the Giants. We can talk about that a little later, but I mean, he was the number one name, it seemed like, in terms of established coaches or guys that you can just plug and play, ready to go, you know, that have done it before. So, you know, let's just give it a grade, Jake. 1 to 10. Give me a rating on this hire.
Okay, so I will say, based on who was available, I'll give it a 9. Based on who's available. Now, I'm not saying I think that he is 100% going to come in. We're going to be Super Bowl contenders. Let's go start the parade up. But I do think, like, based on who's available, like Harbaugh, I don't think I ever saw him going to Atlanta, so I never really thought about that. The only other person outside of Stefanski that I was interested in was Clint Kubiak.
Now, let me ask you this. Stop real quick. If we hired Clint Kubiak, what would your rating be?
Probably about the same. Probably about the same. I will say there's probably a small part of me that would be a little bit more excited about Kubiak because there is that unknown, like maybe this is the next Sean McVay, but I think this is a good hire. I think people are going to obsess over his record in Cleveland, but I challenge you, if you're listening to this podcast and you think like, oh, what are the Falcons doing hiring this guy? I challenge you to try and think back just a few years ago when Baker Mayfield was the quarterback in Cleveland, how good those teams were. They were competing to win one of the toughest divisions in all of the NFL at that time of the AFC North. They were competing to win, and they won playoff games. They beat Pittsburgh in the playoffs.
They took the Chiefs to the wire.
They took the Chiefs to the wire. They were a good competitive team, and it all blew up when they went after Deshaun Watson, and that was not his call. That was not his call. That was ownership's call. They wanted to do that. They blew the whole thing up. And Stefanski was just sitting there, with his hands behind his back. There wasn't much for him to do.
And he barely even got Deshaun Watson. He got like 12 other quarterbacks besides Deshaun Watson.
And that's the thing. If you want to be critical, say like, oh, well, Stefanski must be an offensive guy. Well, where's the offensive talent? He's not the guy that's going to be able to go out and make these signings. That's on the ownership and that's on the general manager. That's not on the head coach. And I think that's number one. Like the offense that he's going to play with next year, yes, I think the Falcons offense has holes. I don't think it's as good as some people say it is. It's better than the offenses as he's had in Cleveland over at least the last 4 years. I think there's a good chance that we can look back on this and it's going to look a lot like the Tennessee Titans firing Mike Vrabel. I really do, because I think Vrabel is a great coach. I think Kevin Stefanski's a great coach. I think he's shown that he's a good coach. And at the end of the day, the Browns just wanted to blame somebody, just like the Titans did, and they move on from their head coach. One last thing I want to say. So you brought up his overall record while he was in Cleveland. You know who else was a head coach in Cleveland and had a very bad record and got fired and had to go somewhere else?
Bill Belichick.
Bill Belichick.
Incredible that there's only two people that have like won more than like 45% of their games in Cleveland's head coaching history, and it's just the greatest of all time and Kevin Stefanski. Maybe you guys are on track for something major coming to Atlanta with that stat. I think it's a great hire. You're talking about a guy that's going to have an offense next year that is arguably as talented as he's had. I mean, you go back, you talk about the playoff days. I mean, they had Baker, OBJ, and Jarvis Landry, and were able to tote the rock as well. So, I mean, you're going to a similar system. I mean, he's got pieces. I think if Atlanta spends their money that they're going to cut free, if they let Kirk Cousins walk and get that contract off the books a little bit, save some cash there, go spend it on another receiver on offense. And if they keep Kyle Pitts, I think they're set up for a good year. They obviously going to have to answer some questions at the beginning of the season with the quarterback situation. But if there's anybody in the NFL that knows how to coach with a bad quarterback situation, it is Kevin Stefanski. He hasn't had anything worse. And it's interesting. I saw a stat today, or somebody said reporting on the Falcons, this is the first hire that you guys have made with a head coach that's had previous experience since we've been alive. 97, Dave.
Raheem Morrison.
Raheem. Outside of Raheem. Yeah. Yeah, but you're right.
It's with you guys after he got fired.
Yeah, it was Jim Mora was the last one. I think that was like in the 90s. But I mean, yeah, it's true. Let me say one last thing. So I feel like a lot of the criticism that Kevin Stefanski gets is Shedeur Sanders believers that are just they are convinced that he was treated wrong in Cleveland and he was getting blackmailed and there's no reason that Dylan Gabriel should have been playing over him. And here's what I'll say, man, like turn the tape on, look at the stats. Shedeur Sanders did not look good. And I'm just saying, just maybe the NFL head coach that spends 60 hours a week in the facility on the practice field with this guy might know more than you do sitting on the couch watching him play against, Cal in the Pac-12. Maybe.
Just a thought. Thought. No, it is exciting though to finally have a name. And like I said, it was behind John Harbaugh. It seemed like the biggest hire, like whoever got him, it was going to be viewed as a success. I saw the pictures last night of when Stefanski was meeting with Blank and Matt Ryan, and they had a dinner. They had some steak. looked like. Apparently, Arthur Blank cooked everybody's
Massive looking
steaks.
spread there.
Yeah,
Like, I mean, what a meeting to just invite a guy, power move, get him over there to your massive mansion.
Yeah, give him a prime rib, medium rare, and be like, "You want to be my head ball coach?"
Let me say one thing real quick, because I know the people on the podcast are going to listen to me say the Pac-12 and be like, "Oh, Jake doesn't know ball." It was the Big 12.
We gotta be correct.
Excuse me. It was the Big 12. Sorry.
That was a good correction there. That was a good correction.
And one last thing I'm going to say, I know this is the third thing that I said was going to be my last thing, is I'm a little disappointed in some Falcons fans who just like a week ago were like, "Oh, Matt Ryan is our president of football operations. I trust in Matt. Matt, I trust in whatever he does." And then the first move that Matt Ryan does, I'm not sure about this. What's it going to be? Are we trusting in Matt, or are we going to second guess?
Yeah, I think
Interesting.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah, you go ahead.
Interesting that they noted today too, when they hired Stefanski, that they said that he was going to report directly to Matt Ryan.
Yeah, and I think Ryan said it perfectly in our group text last night. He was like, half the Falcons fan base was going to be pissed no matter who you hired.
Yeah.
So that's just what you got to deal with. And I just want to say the guys in the bathroom at Rock and Taco in Roswell last night, when I read out loud that there was going to be Stefanski was head coach, they weren't too pleased. So if those guys are listening, just remember down the road, remember that reaction you first gave when you were upset. Also, John Harbaugh was hired as the Giants head coach. Just any general thoughts you guys got on that before we move on?
I mean, not a ton. The writing was on the wall there. I think like from the beginning, he was linked there. He got a pretty massive contract. I don't know the exact specifications, but he is getting paid. But yeah, I'm excited to see it. I mean, see him with Jackson Dart and Scatterbo, and they got some guys on their defensive line that he could work with. Let's see what happens. But I'm not sure. I don't know.
They definitely have some good pieces, and the contract is massive. I think what leaked was 5 years, $100 million, which is a lot of money for a head coach. But what's more incredible about this whole situation to me is like they announced like 3 days ago or 4 days ago that he was going to be the head coach. And then they were like, well, it's not official because he had to work out the rest of the contract. I think they completely, like he forced their hand to restructure the organization in the manner that he wants it to be. And that's huge, like alignment piece. And you got the young talent there. New York Giants might be back like Tom Coughlin had them. I'm just saying, like they have money, talent, quarterback. Look at all the pieces they've got. Everybody's hurt this year, right? But if you look at across the NFL, would you rather be in a better spot for the next 3 or 4 years? There ain't many better places to be in New York.
Yeah.
They need to fix that turf.
Yeah, that's an issue. And I enjoy, I don't know, I think I kind of enjoy when the New York Giants are good. You don't really see it much. It's like to think about, like, what if we ever saw a season where the New York Jets were good? Like how would we react?
Those were some elite years. As a Pats fan, I hated it a little bit, but at the same time, like thinking back to the Mark Sanchez Jets,
yes,
before it dropped off,
and those teams weren't even
football.
crazy, dude. They were like 9-7.
Yeah, but just go and rip or run.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, some new head coaches in the NFL. We'll see how that plays out. Before we move and talk about divisional round weekend, there is the national championship tomorrow night in college football. Crazy. I mean, it feels like we got all this going on, and then it's like, oh, national championship's tomorrow. How about that? There's obviously been talk about how the schedule is a problem in college football, and I don't know if you guys know this, the national championship next year is a week later than it is this year.
Gosh.
But for the game we got on Monday night, Indiana, Miami, Hard Rock Stadium, Miami's home field. Indiana is -7.5. Feels like the same old story, right? That it's like the Alabama game, maybe not so much the Oregon game, but like you think about Indiana's game against Ohio State, Alabama, and whenever they're matching up with these big dogs, it's like, all right, well, Indiana looks like the better team, and everything we've seen all year, they look like the best team, but Miami's got Malachi Tony. Miami's got Reuben Bain. Miami's got 350-pound offensive linemen that will just lean and lean and lean on you. How is that going to play out? I have a feeling the talent won't be overbearing to Indiana based on everything I've seen. I will want to say this. For Miami, we talk about how good their defense is. Indiana does have a slight edge in pretty much every defensive category. Total yards, they're 4th to Miami's 11th. Passing yards, they're 21st to Miami's 34th. Rushing, they're 2nd to Miami's 6th. Points, 2nd to 5th. And 3rd down, they're both tied for 8th in defensive stats. So Indiana kind of has a better defense. And you could say they play better competition week in and week out. We know Indiana's defense is legit. How's Carson Beck going to attack that, right? Carson Beck had a good game against Ole Miss, but I just read off all those Indiana stats. I'm going to venture off and tell you and go on a limb. Indiana's defense is probably a lot better than Ole Miss's, okay? We knew, I said a million times, Ole Miss had the worst defense in the playoffs. So can he top that performance that he had last week? Or is he going to go back to the first 2 playoff games where he's, just doing everything that he can to not turn the ball over, throwing for 112 yards, screens? How is that going to look? Because and then on the Indiana side, will things be as easy as they've been the first 2 games in the playoffs for him? I mean, things have not. They haven't had to struggle for anything the first 2 games. It's been easy. I mean, last game they won the game pretty much on the first play of the game. So is it going to get harder for them? Or are they going to finally meet their match? Mendoza's just been under no pressure. He's got more touchdowns and incompletions. If Miami wants to win this game, I'm looking at the Penn State tape. I'm looking at the Iowa tape. I'm looking at the Ohio State tape. You've got to suffocate that offense and take away the explosives. Stop the run. Number one, that's what defensive people want to do. You got to stop the run. Miami's got to make sure that Indiana cannot gash them for 5-6 yards of carry. There's a stat out there that says Indiana, in their games against those 3 teams I mentioned, like Penn State, Iowa, and Ohio State, they ran for like less than 4 yards of carry in all those games. In every other game where they ran for more than 4 yards of carry, they've won by 25 plus in each game. Miami's got to stop them. And then on the other side, Mark Fletcher's going to have a game. Okay, at the end of the day, I can't find it within me to pick against Indiana. I mean, and I think Miami's got the talent. I went over all of that. But the team camaraderie of Indiana is just insane. And I think at the end of the day, I'm going to lean back on, I don't know if Carson Beck can do it again. I don't think Indiana's going to win this game by 30 points. But I do think they'll win by a touchdown or so. And I think Indiana's going to win this game. I'm taking them to win. I'm really excited to watch it. One last college football game this year.
So are you going to take a -7.5?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, I'm right there with you. And I think you hit the nail on the head. I think there's a laundry list of things that have to go right for Miami to win this game, because I do think that Indiana plays like a better team than Miami does. And, for them to win, Ruben Bain's going to have to dominate. Mendoza's going to have to get thrown off. They're going to have to be able to stop their run. And it's something I said last time we talked about Indiana. I was talking about how balanced their offense is, that they'll throw for 180 and they'll run for 175. That is the only thing. It's like, well, what happens to Indiana when they can't throw the ball and they have to run it? What happens to them when they can't run the ball and they have to throw it? And when they get thrown off like this, what are they going to do? I feel like that's the recipe for Miami. Get them off schedule, 3rd and 10, 3rd and 12, 3rd and 8 and longer. Because I feel like I feel like Indiana's better than anybody in the country of being able to, all their third downs are 3rd and 3. 3rd and 2, 3rd and 1. Easy. You work on that in practice. You have your third down playbook, to be able to pick up a couple yards and get a new set. So I'm with you. I think, listen, at this point, how can you pick against Indiana? I mean, they've done nothing but answer the whistle every single time that when they played Penn State, when they played Ohio State, when they played Alabama, when they played Oregon, both times, they answered the whistle and they showed us that they're a dang good football team. And also, I just want them to win. I want Indiana to win so bad. Number one, on one hand, I just don't really like Miami. I don't really want to see Carson Beck lift the trophy. Call me a hater, call it this, but I don't want that to happen. I just don't want to see it. But also, I love Fernando Mendoza. I love Kirk Cignetti. I love not Chaz Surratt. What's his name? Elijah Surratt. Who was Chaz Surratt? Was that the quarterback in North Carolina? It was. I like Elijah Surratt. I like this whole group that they've put together. I think it's an awesome story. And if they go 15-1 and they lose in Miami on a national championship, that's going to be, they'll still make the movie, but the movie's going to end like Friday Night Lights, the movie where they lose in the state championship game, and you're like, oh my God, how did that just happen? It breaks your heart. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Indiana. I think they nailed the spread on this, because 7.5 really makes you scratch your head. Like, oh my gosh, what is that going to be?
Cignetti said he thought it was a setup. The spread.
Yeah,
Somebody told him about the spread. He goes, I think that's a setup.
Maybe
be careful, but I think now he's trying to set us up.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe that's the cheating scandal right there. He knows he's throwing people off in the Vegas lines. He's being like, it's a setup. Don't take us. And bang, they give him the Miami playbook.
So me and G actually talked about this in that fateful Uber last night that did not treat me very, very well for the people at home. But we made a rally after that. Anywho, conversation about this game, I told him last night I'd pick Miami.
You did tell me that.
Okay. Well, I'm just going to go down the rundown and you're going to figure out that I'm probably going to go against that here. The first thing that I wrote down for my analysis when I was like truly, because, podcast days, I think I've had enough. This is about, the fourth quarter, 2-minute drill that you got to have like your take, right? So like you finally got all the thoughts together. You've seen all the evidence. It's a coaching staff game, boys. When it's the big games like this and the talent is equal like that. And I know the teams play different styles. Like Miami's got the big brawlers and it's got the people that are just sound. They've been playing football longer than everybody else, college football combined or whatever, the age game. Go back to the A&M game. This is the game that still bothers me about Miami. Okay. It was a 10-3 game. Obviously the win and all that stuff was an issue, but they were more so or less scared of Texas A&M's defense. And I think Indiana's is just as fearful. Whatever you think that A&M could do to you, Indiana's got that and more, and they're better coached. They ran the most trick plays I think I've ever seen in a football game in that game because they thought they had to gimmick their way to a win. I feel like they're going to do the same thing this game. I feel like Shannon Dawson is going to try his best to try and scheme yards and outthink everybody and try and be the smartest man in the room because he's done it a couple times this year. I mean, you look at when Miami's had faults this year, it's been when Shannon Dawson gets a little loosey-goosey. I told y'all he was razzle-dazzle like 2 weeks ago, and I'm not a huge fan of that compared to what they need to do, which is do they just hand it to Mark Fletcher the whole game and keep it on the ground and try and mash and punt and live with it. I think you'd be a little nerve-wracked to do that. I think Miami feels like to me they're going to be forced to score points. I think Indiana's defense is going to be like trying to confuse back, force them into some turnovers and stuff because let's make no mistake about it. You're not going to see Mark Fletcher run for 200 yards in this game, I don't think. 200 would be, if they run for 200 yards, Miami's winning in a landslide. I just don't see that Indiana is going to be that non-competitive. They're going to be effective in making Beck have to make throws on third down or on second down or trying to get the drive going and get juice. I lack confidence there. I have confidence in Mendoza more than I did when he won the damn Heisman. Like he's played his best football since he hoisted the trophy. And so when people talk about Indiana's stat line of like, when they don't run for over 3.5 yards a carry, the games are a struggle, it's here and there. I don't think you're talking about the same team and the same quarterback. This is a different dude. I mean, he's had more touchdowns and incompletions in the college football playoff.
Almost double.
I think that Indiana will be able to be carried above that by Mendoza's play. He's not going to make mistakes. Like they're going to execute. That is the one thing that they do. And I think at some point or another, Miami's going to feel like they've got to gamble to win the hand and they're going to get it taken. They're going to lose their chips. So I'll take Indiana.
I knew it. Okay, I asked Caleb not over last
night. I was on Miami.
I said, who are you going to pick tomorrow?
Boys.
He said Miami. I said, all right. Well, when we get on that podcast, and you better pick Miami. And sure enough, here we are.
I've been on Miami for 2 weeks. Whenever the game got announced, ever since I've thought Miami was going to win it. I think they were going to be able to run the ball and mash those guys. But think of the nuances of the game. They're not going to be as well coached. The special team's going to suffer. I think Indiana's going to have a plan for Malachi Toney. And more so, Carson Beck's been somewhat absent until they forced him to make 7 throws in the fourth quarter of the 2 games that they won the last 2. So, Indiana just, to me, like you guys said, it would be better for college football if Indiana wins this game. I would feel bad pulling for Miami.
How long, let's say Indiana wins, okay? How long until Indiana, let's say next season they're going on a deep run, maybe they win back to back, but they're back, they're here. How long before Indiana becomes an enemy to college football?
2 years.
See, if you want to relate this to basketball, I remember when the Golden State Warriors came on the scene, everyone loved the Warriors. Everyone loved how they were playing. And they won a championship, and they won 2 championships, and they won 3. And everyone's like, "Oh, I hate the Warriors. They just shoot threes."
Well, they signed Durant.
That does play in factor. But hey, like I said a couple weeks ago, look at their NIL class. They're basically signing Durant this offseason.
All right. Well, we're excited. One last college football game. Been a great season. Great season for us. Great season to watch. Excited. Also, they still haven't even decided about next year's playoff, what it's going to be. It looks like it might stay at a 12. The SEC and Big Ten hasn't agreed on the 16 or 24 format yet, apparently. So we'll see. It's crazy. College football doesn't even know what their postseason will look like next year. Let's move on. Let's talk about the NFL divisional round. Recap it all. As we're recording right now, the Bears are driving. It's down 7, less than a minute to go, inside the 20-yard line. Well, got a second here. Broncos 33, Bills 30. Another year, another sad, heartbreaking playoff loss for the Buffalo Bills. I believe that's the last 7 years at least that they've lost in the 6 or 7. In a game where I'm going to say this, and I don't think it's really that hot of a take. The Bills look like the better football team, but they just decided to give the Broncos the ball 5 times in that game. So that's an issue. You can't do that in a playoff game. And the Broncos scored on 4 of those 5 turnovers. Now, they were all field goals. So good job at a defense standing up and not making a bad thing worse. At the end of the day, you can't give the ball away 5 times, only have 1 takeaway yourself, and think you're going to even have a chance to win the game. And the fact that you did have a chance to win the game, and then you decide to give the ball away again. We'll get into that ref call in a minute, but just crazy. The Bills won the time of possession. They had more yards by 100. They ran for 183 and they stuffed Denver to 70 rushing yards. They were better on third downs. I mean, but at the end of the day, if Josh Allen's going to fumble the ball right before half and give Denver a free 3, if they're going to let the receiver's going to let the ball get ripped from him on the biggest play of the game, I mean, it's just that's what's going to happen. You're not going to win this game, and it's sad because now we know what we know now, right? Bo Nix is gone, so now we've got to watch the Denver Broncos with Jared Stidham, a guy who hasn't played as a starting quarterback in like 3 years. Go against the Patriots. We'll talk here a little bit. When we could have had Josh Allen, in that game, being that face. And it's just sad. It's really sad because you could see Josh Allen after the game, how upset he was, how upset the Bills were, and understandably so. But they did it to themselves. I mean, there's no one to really feel bad for. It's like, the ref, the PI calls, it's whatever. Oh my gosh.
Shut up. Oh, Caleb, what are you doing? Caleb, what are you doing? No fucking way! No fucking way! Oh my God!
No way he just
Oh
did.
my gosh, Caleb Williams, you are insane.
Please show the replay.
What just happened in the Chicago Bears?
Oh my God!
A huge touchdown
Go for
with
2.
18 seconds left.
Go for 2.
No way, don't go for 2.
Go for dose.
Oh my God, are they going to go for dose?
No, they're not. They're
No,
not
they're
going
not.
for
They're
dose.
not.
They're checking, dude.
They're not. Let's pause, see if they make this kick. Straight face reaction.
There's no way that just happened. That is insane.
Show the replay, please.
That is insane. My God.
That was crazy. How did they let that happen? But
That that reminds me of? That reminds me of the Alabama Auburn Iron Bowl from the year prior. Wow.
Yeah, but the Buffalo Bills have no one to blame but themselves for that type of loss.
Dude,
Okay.
I can't. I'm so distracted right now. That is one of the most incredible plays I've ever seen.
That is insane. That is insane.
Gosh.
Sorry, Mom.
Okay. So we're Bills Broncos back to
Bills
That is
Broncos. Yeah, I agree. I will say, watching Josh Allen's post-game press conference where he was like crying, talking about how he let his team down. That kind of, man, that's tough because I saw another clip today and it was going through like the last 6 years that the Bills have been in the playoffs. It's all been heartbreak. Like there's not been a single year in there. Well, like say what you will, like when you miss the playoffs, that sucks. But when you miss the playoffs, you miss the playoffs. When you make the playoffs and you feel like you have a legitimate chance to win the Super Bowl and you come up just short, especially in a game like this where you said it right, Garrison, Buffalo was the better team. They should have won this game. That's what stings. Yeah, I know it hurts. And I will say I do. So I'll say this. I'm gonna make a take on the pass interference call. Was it PI? Was it not? Was it interception? Was it a catch? I think that was pass interference. I think that both of those were pass interference. But here's what I'll say. If those are pass interference, then it was also pass interference on Brandon Cooks late in that game when he was getting mauled going down the sideline. If that was pass interference, and I know y'all are going to roll y'all's eyes at this, if that was pass interference, it was pass interference last week in Jacksonville when Tre'Davious White was mauling Jacoby Myers. It was
because it was last week. I mean, that we already had that episode.
100%. I will move on. That's the only thing I'm going to make that take. But there was a part of me. There was a part of me that saw Buffalo Bills fans crying about it, and I wanted to be like, you weren't upset last week when the PI wasn't called. That's all I'm saying. But that's my thing. is like when the refs make a concerted decision or an effort where they're going to say, we are not going to let this game be decided by penalties. We're not going to throw flags. I'm cool with that. Honestly, I prefer that. When we're talking about playoff football, championship Sunday on the line, I prefer that. You don't make it a ref show. If it needs to be someone getting tackled going down the field on a pass for it to be pass interference. And like I said, yes, by the rule, I believe those are pass interference. But if you don't call that on Brandon Cooks, then there's no reason you should have called both of those pass interferences, because if you don't call that, then the Bills probably win this game. And then I want to talk about the interception. The interception that was called, I believe that was in overtime, wasn't it? Yeah, that was overtime.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What is a catch? What is a catch? He had the ball. He had possession. His knee was down. Why is that not a dead ball? Why is that not a dead ball? And then I know they'll be like, well, you got to survive the ground and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Well, I've seen that play happen multiple times this season, where they say, okay, well, he came out with the ball, but that doesn't matter. If he had possession, he got down. The possession has been granted. Also, just want to take a little second to say, Gene Steratore, what is your job? What is your job if you're just going to be in the booth and just agree with every single call that the refs make? Then what are you there for? Like, I get that's your cohorts or whatever, like your brothers in arms down there in stripes. But I mean, can we get some sort of like bipartisan analysis, So yeah, I just think it's tough when you don't call that on Brandon Cooks, but you turn around in overtime and make a call that's like, okay, now you have a 15-yard field goal to, go to the conference championship. I think that's weak. I think it's so weak.
Yeah, and you talked about it early on, but like the start of the game, it felt like to me that they were letting them play, and then all of a sudden on the last two drives, they just start whipping out the flags on all the pass interference. Like they did not call it at the end of the game in the last 2 minutes of the game or overtime. Felt like in every crucial situation. And you're exactly right too. There's no consistency on what they're calling a catch. Like that catch, yes, has been shown before in football, and it's been ruled the other way almost every time. I mean, there's so many cases and points that are put on Twitter today that were talking about it. It really does pain me to see, you're talking about Josh Allen crying after the game, and Deion Dawkins was in his interview by his locker was asked by a reporter if he believed that Josh Allen should be, feel like he let the team down. He started crying too. So like these guys are invested, man. It's been brutal. And I can't remember the last time the Buffalo Bills lost a playoff game that didn't end in controversy. At some point or another, like something odd has went on in every single one of their, final games this year. But you look at everything that they were faced up to. First of all, this is the lowest seeded Buffalo Bills team they've probably had since they started going to the dance, considering that they won the division every year before this. But they were short on rest compared to the other team by a lot. I mean, like Garrison talked about the last pod, they were a day early or a day late on playing and to play the early games. So they only had 5 days rest to prepare. Denver took 12 days off. They're hurt to hell and back. They had, they dominated time of possession, had more yards, all that stuff. Denver didn't run the ball very well. Like they played pretty poor on offense, but it's hard to, give them sympathy when you turn the ball over 5 times. Like Josh Allen has 15 fumbles in his 15 playoff games. And everybody wants to talk about the touchdown interception ratio. Talk about his turnover interception ratio. It's about 1-to-1, and that's poor. So when people on Twitter call Josh Allen the best to never do it, it's reasonable, I think, at this point, because he plays like it's a rec league when he gets in these situations in the big games. Like he's just willy-nilly. There's no way you should be carrying the ball like it is just a bag of groceries with 20 seconds left on the clock in opposite territory. First of all, why are you not
with no
down the
timeouts?
field?
They didn't have any
Like, you gotta
timeouts.
put the ball in the air.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand that. It's just not smart football there. And I hate it for the Bills because really they were really, really hurt. And I doubted them coming into this game, but they played their tails off, man, especially in the second half. Like their offense finally started clicking. It was 23-10 at one point in that game, I think, and they were able to rally it back and make it competitive. I just got to say that Josh Allen in the last 6 years when they've had the ball, I mean, he's had the ball at some point or another in the playoffs, except for the 1 year that they changed the rule, and he's lost all of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I thought like last night on that interception in overtime, I remember like live watching it. He had a guy underneath for like an easy first down that I saw happen. It's just I know, it's like everyone wanted the Bills to win. Like, even Caleb last night at that function was rooting for the Bills at the function after he picked the Broncos. You know, it was just everybody wants the Bills to win. We all want to see it. Even the AFC rival fans want to see it.
That was all for my own team's interest, personally. Just saying.
What, the Bills? You wanted to beat the Bills instead of the Broncos?
Yes, that, and I thought they'd be a little easier competition before I found out that Bo Nix broke his ankle.
Yeah, and how about that? I mean, next week we're gonna have Jared Stidham as one of the AFC champion quarterbacks going against Drake May. Like, talk about a brutal blow, and I don't even know if it was talked about during the game. Like, we were at a party, I had no game sound, but like, it was like we got the notification that he was out, and it was just like, wait, what? How? What?
It happened on their last like real snap. Their
Yeah.
last, he broke his ankle and then they took a knee. That's how they, with 5 minutes left in overtime is when he broke his ankle.
They're saying that it happened that was like the next last play. He ran the ball to the left on like a buck sweep and then basically took a knee or like slid, but it was kind of awkward how he fell almost. And then, like Jake said, yeah, he came up limp the next play. But no, nobody knew. Deshaun Payton just came back to the podium out of nowhere. Like reporters were supposed to be gone. And they called back to the room. He said, "Bad news, folks. He's done." They already had the scheduled surgery and everything 30 minutes after the game. So
That is just so tough.
he's had this injury before. Like, this is like his third time he's had issues with that ankle since he was at Auburn, and he's going back to Birmingham to get it fixed. Auburn doctor.
Well, we will see. We will see. But Bills do it again.
Caleb Williams getting the ball back. Field goal wins it.
I know. All right. Seahawks, 49ers. Seahawks win 41-6. There was all the murmurs that Sam Darnold may not play. Jake literally told me and Caleb that he was not playing at one point. But somehow he showed up on the field. He was there. And they really didn't even need him. And he didn't do much. And just like the two games I talked about last week that they played against 49ers this year, he didn't do much. He didn't have to do much in this one either. Rashid Shaheed took the opening kickoff back, and that literally won the game right there. Like, that was the only thing they needed. They would have won the game if they didn't score again. Ass whooping. 49ers are obviously hurt going into it. And it was really just too much. Christian McCaffrey, I talked about that last week. They could not get him running. He only ran for 35 yards. They gave the ball away 3 times. Seattle scored on 7 of their first 8 drives. So, it was just a perfect night for the Seattle Seahawks. And a run for the 49ers that comes to an end that I think we kind of all just saw coming. I don't think anybody was really thinking the 49ers were going to win. And if Sam Darnold did or didn't play, it wouldn't have mattered. They were not going to win this game.
Yeah, I'm listening. I'm just going to say this to the San Francisco 49ers. It was a great run. It was a great run. The fact that y'all were week 17 playing for the 1 seed, won a playoff game in a game that not many people thought you were going to win that one either. But you're able to get it done with the amount of injuries. Jake Tongs, I think, tore his Achilles in this game or did something. He was their leading receiver, 5 catches, 59 yards, and he got hurt in this game. So I'm just saying, research electromagnetic fields because I think we might be onto something here. So I will say that. This was one of the worst games I think I've ever watched in my entire life. Geez, was this one boring. I was like half watching it like the entire time. So my dad's been in town and we were cooking steaks last night on the green egg. Got me a green egg this weekend. So we're cooking steaks on the green egg. The game just ended. The Bills game just ended. So we were checking the steaks, about to take them off. And I was like, all right, let's turn the game on. Boom, it's 7-0. Like, what the heck's going on? I go, what happened? Oh, Rashid Shaheed took the opening kickback. Okay, that's interesting. First play on offense for the 49ers, Brock Purdy dies as he was throwing the ball. They call it incomplete. But the first offensive play, Seattle's got the ball, run it back. It looked like it was about to be 14-0, and there was less than 10 seconds ran off the clock. So I will say this. After seeing that happen, what happened for the next 59 minutes did not shock me at all. But at the end of the day, the Niners just too banged up. How do you recover from all that? How do you recover from all those injuries? The guys on NFL Primetime yesterday, I was watching yesterday morning, really brought up a good point. And I'll say this. Number one, all year we've been talking about Vrabel and Liam Cohen being like the coach of the year. I think Kyle Shanahan has to have a name in the hat on this because what he's been able to accomplish with his roster is truly spectacular. And it came to a rough end, but you cannot discount that. He has coached his butt off this season. And then number two, he was talking about the players that they have making plays on their defense. And I'll read off a couple names. D. Winters was their leading tackler, leading sack getter, Malik Mustafa, CJ West.
Dude, these are creative characters.
Hey,
Well,
who
dude,
are these guys? Renardo Green. Who are these people? These are people that they got during the season. These are free agent pickups that were unemployed. These are mid-season trades that they were doing. I think it's a great job. Oh, you got to get that first, Komet. You got to get that first.
he's going.
You got to, right?
Oh, no. I mean, if you don't, you're giving the Rams a chance to kick a field goal, but it's a hard kick tonight.
Dude, he's going.
But with that said, hats off to the 49ers, but the applause goes to Seattle because they took care of business last night, and they played really dang good football. That cannot be discounted. Just because the Niners are banged up doesn't mean they don't have talent. The Seahawks got a lot of players, and they made a lot of plays. Now, let's see what happens right here. Williams under center, quarterback sneak, first down.
Quarterback sweep.
He did the quarterback sweep, baby. Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
Look, I'm with you guys on Kyle Shanahan. You're talking about a guy that didn't have his quarterback for like half the season and was playing for the 1 seed in week 17 or week 18. That's incredible. But still came to a disappointing end. I mean, you're talking about the worst start to a game possible. You let the opening kick go back, and then their opening drive, like you said, we thought it was another 14-0 pretty quick, just about. But they called it back to be an incomplete pass or whatever, let them drop down. They went over on downs. Then Seattle takes, quick, easy 3. San Francisco gets the ball back, fumble, and the Seahawks capitalize on it. So you're in the hole 17-0 in a playoff game against the best defense in football. You're going to be in deep trouble, especially considering this team, like Seattle didn't even score close to 17 in the last 2 games that they played them. Abysmal to say the least. I mean, we knew that they were going to be kind of dry on targets and people to get the ball to. The 49ers need to figure out the Brandon Ayuk situation, need to figure out the substation situation. And 2 people that are discounting the substation, no, he did not. No, he did not.
What did he do? What did he do? No.
The people that want to discount the substation situation, okay, so people are going back saying, well, they've always practiced here and it's always been there. Okay, well, a couple of years ago, there's a stat out there like the 49ers are the least injured team leading up to 2014, but since then they've been the most. Okay, well, in 2014, that substation was upgraded to have a lot higher wattage output. It's a much bigger situation now than it was then. I'm just saying there's got to be something involved there at this point because you can't deny it. I mean, like Jake said, Jake Tongas got hurt in the end of this game. He was like their best player for them other than McCaffrey, but McCaffrey was held in check because when you scheme up the whole defense to stop one guy, you kind of eliminate what's going on. And that the 49ers just, when you're not healthy, man, it's hard to make a run.
Yeah. That's always like the healthiest team wins. The healthiest team gets to the end. Just good story, though. Like Jake said, I think it's, Kyle Shanahan, I think I remember saying that at one point on one of these episodes, like what he did was awesome this year. And it was like you didn't know who was playing for the 49ers, but they were still going out there and winning ball games. That's a credit to him. We'll see. We'll see if they make a run back. The Seahawks, though, they look, depending on this game, we started recording so we could have time to talk about when this Bears-Rams game's over, but we're getting close to having to talk about it, and it's still not over. We're in overtime with 6 minutes to go. But the Seahawks look like whoever comes out of this game on the other side, they might have a good chance about probably going to be favored at home. So we'll see about that. Okay, Caleb, Patriots 28, Texans 16. I know Jake talked about the Seahawks 49ers game. That was a great catch. The Seahawks 49ers game being one of the worst games you watched. I mean, this one was I'm not going to say the totality of the game. Like the first quarter and a third was pretty good. It was back and forth, there wasn't too much chaos. And then from like 7-8 minutes left in the second quarter on, it was just ugly football. There was 8 total turnovers in this game between the two teams. 4 of those were first half interceptions thrown by C.J. Stroud. The second half, it felt like he could finally start completing passes, but then all his receivers were fumbling the ball. The Patriots were also having their problems. Really, the Patriots just had less problems than the Texans did. The Patriots didn't play a clean game, but they had less problems. They had really big explosive plays on offense. Obviously, the booty catch was awesome. That's a funny thing to say. And then the first touchdown you guys had with Douglas, I mean, that was a big explosive play, a big yards after catch play. So, the Patriots took advantage of those situations that the Texans gave them and made the most out of their opportunities when they got guys in space, when they were able to create one-on-one matchups. I mean, that's what winning teams do, and the Patriots got that done. But I mean, they were guided very nicely by the Houston Texans today. But they took advantage of those opportunities. So congrats to you, Caleb.
Thanks, man. I still want to say that, a lot of people are going to agree. And I watched the game as well as obviously that it was a gross game to see. Very sloppy. But New England earned the ability to kind of pull away at the end of this game because we were atrocious on offense. I mean, we didn't have a first down for like the second and third quarters of this game. It was unbelievable to us to see like we were 3 for 14 on third down, completely opposite of what Drake May's done this season now. Make no mistake about it. We talked about this. This is one of the top units in the NFL, if not the best one. We still scored 28 points. Now, 7 of that came off of defense because Marcus Jones and CJ Stroud hooked up on a big catch for us, which he was doing that very often in this game. I mean, the guy, he had like 10 turnovers in the last 2 games in the play.
I think it was like the first player to ever have 5 interceptions and 5 fumbles in a postseason or something like that. Like, it was insane.
Well, we didn't help it very much. Drake May fumbling the ball 3 or 4 times and just being reckless there. He's got a hole in the damn ball next week if we expect to play Denver, and I'm a little nervous about that game, to be honest with you. Like, we've played not great football in the last 2 weeks now. We've won, and I think it's a testament to how good the team is, and make no bones about it, the Patriots defense is number 4 in the league, DVOA and every other stat category that you want to look at pretty much. So we're respectable on that side of the ball, and we showed it this game. I mean, Christian Gonzalez was locked down. I told you that Nico Collins not being there was going to make a difference. I think if he was there, they would have had a real and obvious chance, especially all the opportunities they had in the red zone. They didn't convert because they were down there a lot and kicked a bunch of field goals to try and stay in this thing. But just Stroud being so reckless with the ball. I mean, he was not necessarily always reckless. It was just more so he was off target so much, and it was like a tip ball situation. I mean, there was a bunch of other plays that were left out there to be made that on throws of his that he got away with, whether it was incomplete or a crazy catch or whatever. But Drake May made the plays when he needed to. The receivers, I mean, some insane catches on the touchdowns. I mean, not only the one-hander, but the Diggs touchdown where he got absolutely rocked by the safety with the corner on his back. I thought that ball was going to be jarred out. I don't know how he caught it. Just dogs show up in December and January and February, man, when the snow's out. And it was awesome to see us, kind of buckle down in that kind of weather. And it was a major factor at the end of the game. I mean, CJ Stroud had some just like, this was not even close. What are you doing, pal? Throws. In the first quarter of this game because I don't think he could have get adjusted to that. And I told you guys, man, playing in a dome does not set you up very well for playing in Boston in January, and I think that did help us today.
Yeah, so I will say this. So this is the second straight week we've gone on this podcast talking about the Patriots. Like, well, we didn't look great. The offense didn't look great, but we won. And I will say, listen, when you're talking about January, coming to February football, that is all that matters. That is all that matters, is that you win a game. But Caleb, I think you're right to be a little bit nervous about next week. After watching what Nick Bonito was doing yesterday and the rest of that bunch of Denver, that's a dang scary. That's a dang scary.
Will Anderson again. It's going to happen again. I told my buddy that's a Broncos fan today that they're going to have 2 strip sacks on us for sure, just because Will Campbell has concrete feet.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about the turnovers that CJ Stroud had. Drake May turned the ball over 3 times today. 1 interception, and he fumbled 4 times.
4 times and got 2 of them.
We're able to recover 2, but still 3 fumbles. 3 turnovers is not what you want to see for the Patriots. And then I will just say this, and listen, the Patriots are winning these football games, but the Patriots have faced the lowest strength of schedule. Did y'all know this? Any team has faced since 2007. They have the 10th lowest strength of schedule in NFL history. NFL history. And then their path to the Super Bowl is the worst offensive line that's ever been assembled in football.
Whoa. Ever, dude. The Falcons have had worse.
No, I don't know. I do not know.
Nut shot.
Do not know. And then CJ Stroud, who turned the ball over 9 times in 2 playoff games. And then next week, the Broncos with Jared Stidham and not Bo Nix. Listen, all I'm going to say is y'all are winning the games, and I hate the Patriots, so it's hard for me to be happy for you, truly, Caleb. Like, I love you as a person. I cannot stand the Patriots. I hate them. And then I'll just say this. Caleb get into the group chat. It's like, I can't believe it, dude. Oh my God, we're going to the Super Bowl. Or we're going to the conference championship. I can't believe it. I'm like, Caleb, you've won 6 damn Super Bowls. Act like you've been here before, man. Act like you've been there before.
And been here with this captain though. The new captain hat where
He's
is
like,
not
I
named
can't
Tom Brady.
believe it.
He's like, this feels crazy. This is so unreal. Like
It is. I mean, it really is. Now, I had maybe some stimulants in my body or whatever. You call it here, call it there. I've been having a fun Sunday fun day, but yeah, I mean, just watch your team go from 4-13 the last 2 years, and like we went Bill Belichick, and then had to pay out Gerard Mayo, and then spent a bunch of money this offseason. You still got Drake May and a young offensive line. It's supposed to be terrible, which they are. To make it to the conference championship game, and be like the 2 seed in the conference. I
Okay,
think
all right. Do not spoil this one. Do not spoil
Yeah,
this
this-
kick.
Pause, Caleb. Let's go pause real quick.
Here, I'll give us a live call. You want me to give y'all a live call? Even though I'm sure Chicago's gonna
Let's
burn a
see.
timeout right here.
Uh-oh.
I'm sure. Lining up
Oh,
to go to the conversation. Snap, hold, kick is up, and it is good. And it is good.
Rams.
Wow.
Man, that Caleb Williams play is going to be nothing now. I was ready to. I was going to clip our reaction to that play if they won this game and post it. That would have been great. I may still do it just for fun. But we'll talk about that in a second. Caleb, keep your points going wherever you're talking about.
In the schedule stat is incredible, by the way. I have not yet. Does not shock me though. But look, I mean, it has looked sloppy, but we played some really good units. Like the Chargers were the 5th best unit in football this year. And I think I saw today that the Texans are like the 4th highest rated defense in the last like 5 years. And now the Seattle Seahawks are number 1 or number 2. So, they're still looming out there somewhere if you want to continue on this run. But Denver Broncos, we're about to run into those guys. Let's make no mistake about it. And this is just me being a candid, obvious Pats fan. Honest is what I'd call it. There's been 2 AFC title games that we played in Denver. The only 2 times we played them in the playoffs the last 2 years in their place, AFC title games. We are 0 for 1. Gronk dropped a 2-point conversion in the back of the end zone, and the other one was just wasn't very competitive. So that's a hard place to play this time of year. However, if there's anybody that's prepared to play there, why not Drake May against a backup quarterback that hasn't thrown a ball in NFL action in 2 years almost? And McDaniel's familiar with that guy, by the way. He was drafted by New England while he was there at some point or another. So, maybe we have a leg up there, but they do have a better offensive line than anyone that we've seen. I mean, Jake's obvious. It's true. I mean, the Chargers were terrible. The Houston Texans are not very good up front either, especially when they didn't have Trent Brown start left tackle today. It really set them back. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to protect from Nick Bonita. We'll see. We'll see when we get there. It's just exciting though to be in the conference championship game and still be able to watch meaningful football at this point. And I know, yes, been there before, but I'm wearing 12's jersey. He's the only guy that's gotten me this far before, and now it's 10's turn. So see how it goes.
We will. And finally, we're going to get to talk about the Rams-Bears game because it just ended, and the Rams win 20-17 in overtime. We were literally all watched the amazing Caleb Williams play on the last chance the Bears had in regulation. He was 20 yards behind the line of scrimmage, throws the ball up, and somehow there's a one-on-one coverage, and Cole Kmet just ends up with the ball. And that was awesome, and it's all for nothing because the Rams are going to go to the NFC Championship. Caleb Williams and the Bears had a promising drive going on there in overtime, and he throws an interception, which great play by the defender there. I mean, he had to lay out there in the snow, underthrown ball, go make a play. But that ends up being a difference because Matthew Stafford, the MVP, said, all right, you can give me another chance. I'm going to take it. And they go down there and kick a field goal, win the game. This game started out in the first quarter before we started the podcast. I was saying, this game kind of started out nice. The Rams and Bears were able to, score in like the first quarter, get some touchdowns on the board. And the weather obviously became a factor. Matthew Stafford really wasn't his best tonight in terms of accuracy. It was a while like the Bears missed out on taking a couple field goals that may have won them this game. Who knows? In the first half, Ben Johnson staying aggressive, but the Rams, I mean, they were favored to win this game on the road, and give them credit. I mean, they played a very bad game, like in that first half, and were able to keep it tied, aided by, like I said, some opportunities to make 4th down stops when the Bears were giving them an opportunity to get off the field. And it's sad for Chicago because you got so close, but I'm just being honest, the Bears, I said it last week, like it was like they were lucky that they were in that situation, and they had another very lucky play happen. All right, and call it what it is. Like that play was awesome, taken away, but like I mean, come on. That's never going to happen. Like that happens 1 out of 10 times because he's 20 yards on the scrimmage and just throws it up and has a miracle play.
Yeah.
But it ran out, and the Rams are a good enough football team to make you pay for it, and they did.
So I feel like in every single one of these games we've talked about so far in the divisional round, the team that is winning these games are winning the turnover battle. Maybe I think so. That I mean, I can't say that for a fact. I've not checked the numbers, but I feel like that's right. I feel like that's right. Caleb Williams threw 3 interceptions tonight. Matthew Stafford threw none. The Rams didn't turn the ball over. The Bears did. I feel like that's just when you're playing these games, when it's tight, when it's cold, when the stakes are high. I mean, Caleb, you cannot throw an overtime interception when you need 3, and they were getting close to being in field goal range too. They were getting close, but I mean, it's hard. I'll say this, man, it's hard to knock him though. I mean, dang, I mean, he was balling. He was probably feeling himself a little bit. Just threw that crazy touchdown. He's like, I'm going to go. And I will say, like you said, the game literally ended less than 5 minutes ago. So I've not seen the replay of the interception, but I do feel like DJ Moore might have like slowed up on that route a little bit and kind of freed it up for the safety to make a play. I'd like to see that replay again. But yeah, you're right. I mean, heck of a season for Chicago, and shout out to the Rams, man. You know, people were doubting them all week. It's cold, it's snowy. Is the dome team in LA gonna be able to come, you know, and be able to compete? And well, I forget who the on-field analysis or whatever you call them, or who she was, but she was talking about they practiced all week in LA. And it was like in the 80s, and it was like 70 degrees difference in Chicago from what they were practicing this week on. And that's impressive. That's a great win. And that's going to set up a really good NFC Championship game. Rams Seahawks that's gonna be a good one. And I think that might be the Super Bowl. I think next week might be the Super Bowl Conference Championship week. Man, what a game though. What a game. I'll just say this last thing, that's heartbreak. That is heartbreak, right? I guarantee you can hear a pin drop inside Soldier Field right now. Man, that hurts. That hurts.
Well, now we're set up for if the Patriots go to the Super Bowl here, we're going to have a rematch on our hands, one way or another, Seahawks or the Rams, which are one of the 2 most famous ones that have been in recent memory. But, you know, I wrote down the same thing that Jake talked about early. Rams played clean, no turnovers. Turnovers came back to roost for the Chicago Bears at the end of this game in the worst way. Look, it's disappointing, man. I mean, they were down there. I mean, you think about some of the points they passed up in the red zone, too, because they were aggressive on 4th down. I think they went for it 6 times in this game. Yeah, they were 3 for 6. Not the marker of success, for sure, for a team in this part of the season to go 50% and go for it 6 times. I mean, you're basically, you know, most coaches at that level will quantify turnover on downs as a turnover. Basically, well, I mean, what's the difference between that and interception wherever it's at? So, yeah, not thrilled with the output for the Chicago Bears. Caleb Williams did have some flashes at points in this game, but he was also a little bit careless with the ball and wasn't necessarily, you know, too effective down the field with his passes. So crazy play will not be remembered because it's going to be another disappointing Chicago Bears season. But they got a lot to build on, man. I mean, it's first year Ben Johnson, Caleb Williams going to be together. All those targets will be back. They'll probably have more money to spend next year. And Luther Burden, some of the other guys that are in that building are already talented enough for them to be competitive again next year.
Yeah, and if if the Rams would have lost this game, then we would have been guaranteed to have like somebody win, like some quarterback win their first Super Bowl, right? But now we're still in a situation where Matthew Stafford is the only one left that's won a Super Bowl, and he could do it again. Jake, I think you made a good point. I think the Seahawks Rams next week feels like the winner of that's going to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, listen, not to discount the Patriots. Like I think they have a good team, but I'm just getting to that point where I got to see something out of the Pats, and I feel like I haven't seen it. And if I had to listen, I'll just say this. And again, Caleb, I promise you, I'm not trying to be a hater. I'm not being a hater. I'm not being a hater. But I'm just saying, if you had, I'd be interested to see what the sports books have to say. But if you had to rank the top 4 of who you think is going to win the Super Bowl,
we're last.
I feel well, not last. I know the Broncos are last because of the Jared Stidham situation.
And I bet you we're not even favored in Denver next week.
If you are,
there's no way. There's no way you aren't. 100% y'all be favored.
Yeah, you're definitely
100%.
I'm pretty sure you're favored by like a touchdown. Yeah, you're 5.5 point favorite.
He hasn't made a start in 3 years. 3 seasons he's not made a start.
Okay, well,
4 is going to be the Broncos, 3 is going to be the Patriots, and then however you want to rank the Seahawks and the Rams 1, 2.
I think that line's rat poison.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what the Seahawks Rams line will be whenever that comes out. What's your guess?
The Seahawks 3.5 or 4.
I'll go 2.5.
2.5.
2.5. Yeah, DJ, I don't know. You just can't make that throw, Caleb. You can't make.
No, it's Seahawks -2.5. I just found it. There you go. There you go. All right. Well, the championships are set in the NFC and AFC. Great weekend. If everybody would just stop turning the ball over, maybe it would have been a little bit better. But that was just the name of the weekend. I mean, it was the
I'll
turnover
tell you
round.
what else I think the name of the weekend is run defense. Like if you're forcing teams to have to put the ball in the air and their quarterback's not ready for that, like you got a problem. I mean, look at all the teams that lost this week. I bet you, except for the Bills, everybody else won the rushing yard battle.
Yeah.
Bears had 160 to 110.
Turnover
But I mean,
margin
but
got 'em.
the Bears is kind of different because, yeah, exactly. The turnover margin, and also the Bears are a run first team. So, like, yeah. I mean, they had almost 40 carries in this game.
The ball's the same, baby. Keep the ball and run, keep it on the ground, and don't turn it over. You'll be good to go.
Yeah.
Yep. It's really a simple game when you think about it. All right, player of the week. We're gonna move this until next podcast. So this is supposed to be our last one, the divisional round. We talked about that a couple weeks ago. This will be our last one. The standings are me and Jake are at 7. Caleb's at 6.
Or we can look at it as Caleb's at 6 and me and Garrison are at 7, 6, 7.
Facts.
I love that we've just kept the little gag just going all season.
We're part of the problem. You're a part of the societal problem, man. People in public are asking, like, what does that mean? When they're going out, they hear I'm a teacher or whatever. They're like, what are they talking about? What does that even mean? Nobody gets.
No, my dad asked me one time. He's like, "What does it mean?" I was like, "I don't think it means anything. I think it's just it's just something to do." But yeah. So it's all the standings. So we're gonna wait till next episode because the national championship on Monday, in case anybody wants to be involved there. If it's tied up at 7, if Caleb wins next week and we have all 7, we'll do a player of the year vote. And obviously the fans are going to decide who wins the first ever, player of the week trophy, player of the week award on Deep Shot Sports podcast. So maybe we'll make a trophy or something for the first winner.
Be safe.
Okay. So we'll push that off the next week. So we're going to do our deep thoughts before we get out of here. I've kind of got a list of a couple things I just wanted to bring up as my deep thought. One, Caleb is a beast at knowing the situations because last night this guy just awareness level was 100. All right. The Uber driver gave this guy some problems and he had to deal with those problems, but he did it in a respectful manner. I've never seen somebody do what he did. And let me just tell you, it was impressive. Caleb is a one of a kind guy. I'm not going to tell you what you did. You had to be there. It was a special moment, but I just want to say Caleb his awareness rating is higher than anybody else's I've ever met in my life. Second thing, college basketball betting scandal involving Kennesaw State. Insane. I don't know. Did you guys see any information about this huge scandal that went down? There was like
Crazy
20
how
people
big
that got arrested.
It's a big sting.
Is this the point shaving?
Yeah.
And it's a lot of money being bet on these things too, like $400,000 on some bets for St. Bonaventure basketball.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
It was like DePaul. I believe it was DePaul had like 4 different players involved in it. There's guys from Kennesaw State that were involved with it. It was a bunch of smaller teams, but basically they had multiple guys shaving for the last couple years, and they were betting, like first half minus whatever, right? And we talked about this maybe not a couple episodes, it was probably a little while ago, but there was the whole MLB situation with the Indians closer that I'm blanking on his name, but it seems like more and more of this is happening, or it really just feels like this has just always been going on. And now there's a little bit more access. Everybody's talking about gambling a little bit more. We've talked about how it's, everywhere you look, it's, everybody's got a, pregame parlay that they're selling to you. This is not going to be the last time we hear of this. And I remember like back in the day, if you haven't know about, there was the Arizona State basketball player. I forgot his name, but he kind of was in this like back in like the 80s or 90s was in a situation like this. There's a situation about the NBA ref that a couple years ago, or maybe not a couple years ago, but 10, 15 years ago, he was in a situation. I just want to say like this gambling stuff, like these guys, remember I said a couple months ago, like you're putting yourself in these bad situations when you do this, but this is just, it's not going to stop.
No, not until the money comes out of it, but it's never going to. The tube's not going back, or toothpaste not going back in the tube.
Yeah, and it's not like we're ever going to, stop the sports gambling to get out of it. So you're not going back now, right? Like it's too big,
right.
It's too many people involved. And when done the right way, it's a nice aspect to the game. But when you're literally robbing people of money and fixing games, it's just insane. And they're preying on these like mid-major college basketball kids, like not even the big ones. Could you imagine if like they said, Houston was point shaving in a national championship against Florida last year, which who knows, jury's still out. But, could you imagine if we got to that big of a scandal, which at this point, it could happen.
And it's crazy that it always happens in basketball too. I feel like you really baseball sometimes here and there, but some people out there that are involved in this and know how to prevent this, or let's get this out of the game. If you eliminated player props, it would be really hard for people to shave points like this. Like if you just didn't allow, or let's say you didn't have the under on any player props. You just had to either bet on their over or nothing. And just say that that's where we're going with individual, bets. Now you can still bet team unders and overs, but if you were to take away the possibility of somebody even incentivized to go below what their potential is on the court, I think the game would look a little bit different and the scandals would too. And it's the money thing, you're talking about the mid-majors. I think that's important to note. And they're not going to go after the guys at the big schools because those guys are making serious money. Like Kentucky basketball players, they're getting paid. Their team's way smaller than the football team. They still have access to the same money pool that the rest of these guys do. Like they're getting paid the big bucks. So the little teams definitely could use a little bit more change there. And these guys were dealing not only in, mid-major basketball and NCAA, but Chinese basketball as well.
Yeah.
So look, this is multiple times in the last couple months that we've came out and found that there are multiple cheating scandals that are involving gambling on prop bets in sports. And there's going to have to be an answer at some point because you're right. If there's nothing done about it, nothing's going to change.
Jake, what's your detail? I think I have another one, but I think it might be yours. I'm going to let you go.
Mine is baseball related.
Yes, that's exactly what it was.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm actually working with Grok right now to pull up the numbers because I want to see it ranked against everybody else. But if you missed it, Kyle Tucker just signed with the Los Angeles Dodgers a 4-year, $240 million contract coming in at $60 million per year. And if you're listening, it's like, what? The Dodgers, how on earth? How do they have $240 million to spend at this point? The answer is they don't. They do not. Right now, the payroll for the Dodgers for next season, if you add up all the deferred money, which is a whole nother conversation, we could talk about this for an hour, seriously.
Yep.
They are going to be spending about $500 million just on their roster. If you combine all of their contracted value right now, they have $2.1 billion with a B. I'm going to say that one more time. $2.114 billion on the books right now. Billion. In second place is the New York Mets at just over $1 billion. In eighth place is the Atlanta Braves. I really wish Grok was getting these numbers to me because I saw them somewhere and I can't find them. That's on me. Should have bookmarked it. Whatever. The Braves are in eighth place with right around like $500 million in agreed contracts. That's 8 times. Or no, it's not. Well, however much they spend.
Exorbitant.
I think it is close to 8. It's like 8.
Whatever the final value is for the Braves contracts, I did the math yesterday. It's 8 times as the Dodgers spend 8 times as much as they are.
And the Braves are like top 5 in spending in baseball.
Exactly.
Go look at what the Rays are spending and compare those.
You can add up the bottom 10 teams in MLB. The bottom 10 teams in MLB, and it's still less than what the Dodgers are paying. In contracts. And we can talk about this all you want, but I want to know if y'all knew about this. In the 2011-2012 season, the Los Angeles Dodgers filed for bankruptcy.
Yep.
Bankruptcy. They were out of money. You know what happened? The MLB came and bailed them out, gave them $150 million to continue to have a franchise, or they weren't going to be able to continue to play baseball. MLB bailed them out. And 14 years later, the Dodgers are doing this to baseball. And I'll say this, what really makes me mad is, Dodgers fans on Twitter, because when they signed Kyle Tucker, it was an uproar. It's like, how on earth are they doing this? Like, how are they doing this? And all the Dodgers fans are like, hey, don't be mad that our owner's spending money. Y'all are spending money y'all don't have, that you do not have. The Dodgers lost money last year. Do you know that? The Dodgers were negative in revenue last season. Even after winning the World Series, probably selling out a lot of games, having a lot of postseason games, selling a lot of jerseys, Shohei Ohtani jerseys, selling a lot of Dodger dogs. They were negative in revenue. They just signed a guy for $240 million. You know what they're going to be this year? Regardless, if they go 162-0, and sweep the playoffs, go to the World Series and win it, they will be negative in revenue this year. I'm telling you what's going to happen. The same thing's going to happen. They're going to run out of money. They're going to run out of money. And I don't know what's going to happen, but there's no way they're going to be able to pay this $2.1 billion. Their owner isn't even worth $2.1 billion.
No.
So what's the plan here? Like
The
what's
plan
the
is to
plan?
sell the team. That's the plan. They're going to offer all this deferred money and to sell the franchise and part of the sale of the process of the team because they're not going to be able to keep the lights on forever. You're exactly right.
No.
And you want to go back to the bankruptcy situation. Not only did they bail them out, they gave them the cushiest TV deal in baseball, which, by the way, I think there's 11 or 12 teams that just opted out of the FanDuel Sports Network group of rights deal for the TV network. So those teams are getting $0 for a TV deal this year. I mean, we saw the Arizona Diamondbacks, I think, last year. Maybe it was an MLB or an NBA, Phoenix Suns. Somebody in Arizona went to where they had to sell their own TV rights on their own website because nobody out there, they can't pay the bills. So when you get teams like this, they're spending, 20 times more than the bottom tier. The Los Angeles Dodgers just booked us for a lockout next year. There's no way we survive in this state now because the CBA is going to be up. And some of these teams, even the New York Yankees, I think will be on board at this point. The Dodgers and the Mets are going to be on an island on their own, unless they just rope some owner that doesn't care, like the Oakland A's owner, to say, this deferred money, first of all, Shohei's AAV is $70 million a year. If you count the true number of the contract, screw the deferred money. But since it's deferred, it only counts 42 towards luxury tax. That's bullshit, especially if nobody else has the rights or the clearance from ownership to go and spend reckless money like that. Like nobody's doing that. Their top 6 paid players, the bottom 10 payroll that you talked about, I don't think they could pay Betts, Freeman, Will Smith, Kyle Tucker, Blake Snell, and Yamamoto. They couldn't even pay those guys with the money that their revenues are this year. It's insane what the Dodgers are doing. They're ruining baseball.
Just on Shohei and Kyle Tucker, just them two, that's $130 million in total contracts. That's almost double what the Rays' entire contracted value is right now. Right now, the Rays are at 30 with $70 million.
Insane.
$70 million. That's Shohei's contract. Shohei makes more money than the entire Tampa Bay Rays organization. I'm glad you brought up the luxury tax. Right now, the Dodgers are at 110% luxury tax. So we can say all you want, like, okay, the Dodgers signed Kyle Tucker to a 4-year, $240 million contract. They're paying 110% more on that. So they're basically paying double. They're paying like $600 million on this contract over 4 years. It's and I'll also say this, the last thing I'll say about my deep thought. For years, so there's been a minority of people in baseball saying there needs to be a salary cap, there needs to be a salary cap, there needs to be a salary cap. And MLB and the players and almost all the 30 teams were all like, no, it's fine. It's fine. The teams who want to pay more money, they can, but it's not sustainable because then they'll be in net loss and revenue, and then they'll have to cut some contracts. And teams at the bottom, if they're not going to spend money, they're not going to spend money at the salary cap regardless. So it all evens out. And for years, that was kind of right. You saw teams like the Rays when they got hot in the 2000s and went to the World Series. You talk about the Oakland A's when they had their run. The Brewers were a team that never really spent much money, but we've seen the Brewers, be quite competitive. That's all changing, and I do feel like there might be 2 teams max that stand behind the Dodgers and say, we need to continue to do it this way. And I think probably some of the players are going to get pissed off too, because at the end of the day, listen, players want to get their bread 100%, but these are competitive people. These are very competitive people. And I guarantee you, man, Austin Riley's probably pretty pissed off that when he was seeing these numbers get thrown around. And I don't know. Something has to happen, and it's going to. The Dodgers are forcing the hand. They're forcing the hand.
If the players don't want a salary cap, probably, right? Because they want to be able to make as much money as they can. And the owners are cool with it. Like, how do we end up in a lockout?
Because they're
the player's not going to agree to the revenue
the
share.
Player probably won't agree. Yeah, that it's going to come down to that. There's not going to be enough players that sign off on it, and I'm probably being a little optimistic about the amount of clubs that are going to be able to stand with the Dodgers. There's probably going to be a couple other ones. Like Caleb made a great point. Some of these teams at the bottom that own their team, they make their money, and that's all they want to own the team for. They'll probably stand behind the Dodgers and say, I'm cool with this. Listen, we make a lot of money on this team. I don't have to shell out all these contracts, and we're good. They'll probably stand behind the Dodgers and say we're cool with it. But I don't expect baseball to get played next year. It won't be starting in, the summer.
It'll be abbreviated for sure. I think what the hinge point of the contention of the conversation next year, it's going to be centered around salary cap, but it's also going to be centered around salary floor. And if the MLB is really concerned with getting parity back in baseball, they cannot allow teams like the Dodgers to rake in, $400 million or whatever their money revenue is off the TV deal, and then other teams come across scraps like $30 or $40 million, and you expect people to pay others the same rate. Because if you're going to instate a salary floor, you're going to have to subsidize from the larger teams some of these little teams. It's going to be a mess. It's going to be a massive mess. Owners in the MLB, just because of the state of the league and the way it's made, these guys aren't built just to be like sell out, go be competitive. Like in the NFL, I think I would say like 27 of the 32 owners are committed to trying to win a football game. In the MLB, half of the guys that own baseball teams are just concerned with operating costs and how much revenue they'll be able to pocket every year. It's a business.
Well, yep. I knew that was what Jake was going to bring up. I had that written down, but I knew that's what he was going to bring up. So I'm glad we got to talk about that. That will get clipped on YouTube. You're going to get a whole segment on that one. Wait until you see it. Okay, Caleb, finish us off here.
My last one's going to go back to our bread and butter football. I hate the Big Ten. After the news that came out the last 2 days saying that they basically cannot get any change done in the college football playoff that's meaningful because they want 24 teams and the SEC is willing to agree to 16. Who the hell are they? Why do they feel like they are entitled to get 24 teams? Is it even advantageous for their conference to get 24 teams? And look, we went back earlier and talked about Miami and Indiana or whatever, and that would be good for football if Indiana win the national championship. My main reason for saying that is because if Miami wins the national championship, it would be the most watered down national championship winner in history. And you think that getting to 24 teams while also forcing all these teams to play non-conference games, you're getting to like a 17, 18 game season is going to go over well. You're trying to what are you going to play games into February? There's no real value in pushing college football to a greater point with its fan bases and the schools and coaches and players alike to go to 24 teams. Like, do they expect to get in who? I mean, because if you go look at it, okay, let's say the the Big Ten missed out on Washington and USC this year to get in the playoff pretty much. That's the only folks that they're kind of missing in that department, maybe Iowa. Okay, do you think you're going to get a better outcome than what you got already? You got a national championship in competitive or a competitive team that's in your conference in the Natty for the third straight year. You're looking at winning your third straight national championship as a conference. Why are you trying to push for change? I think it's going to ruin football if you go to 24 teams. Seriously, they're not prepared for it.
24 is an absolute brain dead thought to think that we need 24 college football playoff teams. Like 16, we don't need that. I really don't want to go anywhere.
We don't need 12.
No. You don't need any of those teams. And if you get in these big tournaments, it would be okay for them to implement this if they had a track record and talking about the NCAA or whoever is making the decisions for college football, that their changes were positive. They don't have a clue what to do about the transfer portal, the calendar, any of this and that. But they want to just, let's keep changing the playoff. Let's keep changing the playoff because it's what they print some money. You better fix it because if not, like, who's to say the players just say, we're not doing this and try and unionize like next offseason and college football goes on strike? Do you know what's going to happen if college football goes on strike? Because we're this close to getting to that point where it's going to happen, especially you're talking about like 24 teams in a playoff, 18 game seasons in college football. What does regular season matter?
It won't at that point. Yeah.
That goes back to what I said.
College football has the greatest regular season in sports. You can't ruin it.
It was actually funny that you're talking about this. Well, first off, this is like the 8th straight week we've just talked about college football just being so dumb, so stupid. But me and my dad were actually talking about this tonight, how my dad growing up in the 80s and the 90s, like his prime years, and then my growing up, in the 2010s and, early 2000s, college football was a little bit different, but kind of the same in a lot of ways. They didn't have like the Notre Dame, you're the national champion. Congratulations. We actually had a national championship game. That's really the only difference. Outside of that, it's the only difference. And I was talking about like my kids, like in 20 years when they're like our age or, probably a little bit younger than us. Yeah, they definitely will. College football is going to be completely unrecognizable. We're going to tell them, we're going to say, yeah, actually, In 2012, Georgia played Alabama in the SEC championship game. They're like, wait, the SEC championship game? What is that? Oh, well, so we had a conference and the top two teams played in the conference championship game, and it really worked out to where if you won that game, you went to the national championship. You mean the 64-team playoff? No, actually in 2012, the top two teams in the country played for the national championship. Really? Wow. That's how it's going to be. And I just can't see this being a positive. Like you're saying, like it's true. College football is printing money right now from the playoff. Like they are making money. But, and I'll just say this, I'll speak personally, and I know y'all know, and I know the podcast knows that college football, like I love college football. I'm going to be watching the national championship tomorrow and all this, but you know, I'm an NFL guy. I like the NFL more because I feel like it's a better product, yada, yada, yada. I feel like this continues for 5 years. You're going to start to hear more and more people start saying that. Like, college is cool, but you know, I like the NFL. I like the simplicity of the NFL. You don't have to worry about the transfer portal, NIL, all that. And it's going to be more and more popular. Then you fast forward 10 years, it's definitely going to be more popular. Because I'll say this, we all grew up in the Southeast, and in the Southeast, college football is king. There's about 35 states that do not give a crap about college football. Truly, do not. You go up to Caleb's boys up in the Northeast, they don't give a damn about college football.
Boston College, dude. What are you talking about? You seen those
Yeah,
crowds
I'm
of those
sure.
games?
Indiana fans didn't even like football, dude, until 2 years
Hey,
ago.
they didn't. And it's just going to get more and more popular. And the NFL is going to just be more and more popular. And college football is just, like I've said the last 8 weeks, college football is going to kill themselves. There needs to be like a commissioner or something to just, the buck stops here, we're stopping this, and make some good decisions.
I mean, there's chatter about conferences talking about just governing themselves at this point because they have no leadership. I'm telling you, the best idea, and I'm going to stand on this, and if it happens one day, we're going to have I'm going to wear a suit on this podcast. The NFL needs to step in. They need to go in there and say, okay, you guys are a minor league. You're going to tarnish the value of our league because the rookies are going to be worse. And you don't know what you're doing. So why don't we help you? Let's tell you how to run an organization, run a league, set it up, pro style, because you guys are doing the player movement stuff and paying the guys just like we are, except you just don't know when the hell to tell people to do stuff. And so they need to send somebody down there that knows what the hell to do involving calendar and league rules and, you know, get the officials uniform, God forbid, instead of having conferences handle it on their own, centralize it in the league office. That way everybody's got the same point of emphasis and stuff. You won't see ref games called different, but still be able to there's still a world, folks, where you can have a 12-team playoff and leave it as such, or maybe even a 16, incorporate the bowl games in a way to survive going forward, and if not, make them more popular and get the calendar to where it works for coaches, players, and their lives are better. Nobody's telling people that they can do it. So that league needs to step in because they know what they're doing.
Yeah. It worries me too that like a lot of these coaches will just be like, dude, I can't do this. You know, like
You're going to see a lot more go to the NFL.
Yeah, like a Kirby Smart just being like, dude, I'm throwing in a towel at 56. Like I can't. This is insane. I mean, Nick Saban did it. I mean, you never know. But yeah, that was great. That was some great deep thought there, Caleb. Been thinking about that as well. That'll wrap up episode 46. Packed show. National championship tomorrow. Got the NFC and AFC championships next weekend. We'll be here to preview that on the next episode. Recap the national championship. And whatever else comes our way, maybe some more head coaches or maybe some things that we just off the wall haven't even figured out yet. So for Jake, for Caleb, I'm Gary. We'll see you guys next time. Deep shot out.